is not true that hurricanes begin off the coast of West Africa. Hurricanes begin deep in the land mass of Africa itself. We are talking about those tropical cyclones that sweep through and destroy the things and sometimes the lives of people in the Caribbean and eastern coasts of the Americas, mainly Central and North America. Locked in a whirling dance, transformed and in full communion. These conditions do not disappear and reappear. They are always present and at work, like gods. It is only when the annual conditions are right, aligned, that the signal is received. The ocean currents moisturize and drive the cooler air into the vacuum, left by the rising, spinning air, warmed by the sun god, and now in full reverie. The same simple equation, repeated again and again, sets out towards the new world in a rage. There was a time when these winds and currents played important roles in the global economy. Gone are the days when men transported captured Africans across that same path. In ships powered by these same winds and currents, renewable energies, those dark bodies, like the winds themselves, came from the far reaches of Africa, collided forcibly at its coast, for a journey across the unknown. At that time, that trip would not be possible any other way except by the power of wind and water. The purpose was to provide unpaid labor to the plantation system that drove the Industrial Revolution and increased the wealth of a few. The Industrial Revolution and now the Technological Revolution came to provide more options and made almost obsolete the regular day jobs of these ancient forces, now relegated to a lesser form of energy, replaced by fossil fuels and machines with artificial intelligence. They had to go back to the old difficult task of turning a few fish into thousands and watering vineyards for wine. They would bring sands from the feet of the pyramids to Sudan and the plains of Adwa to its cousins that fed the giant trees of the Amazon with rain messages, and compared science notes with the Mayan sands and those on Miami Beach too. All tasks made difficult and ordinary by the insurgent gods with their desire to mine the depths of the oceans, as they did the depths of Africa and everywhere else. For ore they destroyed and destroy mountains that act as brakes for the power of winds and waves. Exposing secrets buried for another time. They are attempting to create their own rain, thunder, and lightning too. Imagine. all with the aim to be less dependent on and not subject to the whimsical methods of the aging gods, and more in control of their younger gods and their paper agents. Green with envy, and all the time preparing a red hell. We resisted then and do now. Instead of submission to the abuses, some would sacrifice themselves to the very gods. Sun, wind, and wave. The slavers built nets around the ships to avoid self-sacrifice. Sometimes the whole ship would be lost in the storms, which often served as cover for a mutiny. Slavers themselves would throw the dead or mutinous overboard as they sacrificed the bankers and insurers. That went on for 400 years. Asians were used to replace this now costly practice, and under a new guise of a contract that replaced the canon and the canon. And it's the same in Asia. It's everywhere. The Industrial Revolution replaced the unfree source of renewable energy with fossil fuels. It is now studied science. Fossil fuels are heating the planet. The desert winds are warmer, as is the currents of Africa, and the conditions more frequent for a time to dance. More and more, it seems, those gods want to remind us of what they can do and how important they were once, or maybe still. Like the winds, Africans have become surplus labor in this system. They are not alone in this respect. All humanity is at risk. The monetization of humans began then and has not stopped. Africans face the brunt of it as chattel, but the system of monopoly capital respects no people and respects less their gods and even less their trees and animals. And even its own gods have been quoted out of context to ensure exploitation continues and tides roll in. A new battle looms. That these new gods begin to heat the planet and discarded gods find conditions conducive to dance and whistle and for sacrifice. Our dances too reflect this history, winding and grinding on each other while DJ is calling us to find something and wave. The hurricanes are coming with increased frequency and might and reach, crashing down the structures built and owned by the banks and insurance companies that built and owned the early ships and claim to own people too. It is terror. That collateral damage and the proverbial innocent have no special place. No one is innocent, really, because we have all at some level acquiesced. Some coerced into something we know to be wrong and unworkable. Nowhere this plan works for the majority of humans and other living things. To forcibly command and squeeze energy out of other humans and into capital. We are drowning again today in the Mediterranean Sea this time, forced to leave home because Africa never recovered from the last human traffickers. The land is dry, food and work scarce. They flee in rickety boats through a new network of human traffickers in hope for the new gods will smile. Parts of Europe have begun to build monuments to the old gods, but conversion may be only for personal survival, as was its invasion of Africa, the Americas, and everywhere. As each storm approaches, I watch those long lines of cars snake across the highway built with petroleum, fleeing the wraths of the old gods, using petroleum, thirsty, with only a scarce drink of oil between it, its human cargo, higher ground, and their end. And across lands long stolen and gentrified. For that to happen, this has to happen. Know that unless we bow to the feet of the sun, the wind, and the wave as our energy, our life, no ground would be high enough to save us.